نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم أما بعد بسم الله. Today inshallah we will start from verse number 22 of Surah Saffat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. احشروا الذين ظلموا وأزواجهم وما كانوا يعبدون. The angels will be ordered, gather those who committed wrong, their kinds, and what they used to worship. So ushuru means ajma'u, gather them, and azwajum is referring to their companions, counterparts, peers, so people like them. And here the discussion is regarding the disbelievers and the mushrikeen. So people who had committed similar crimes will be gathered together in groups. People who used to take interest or riba will be together, and those who used to drink alcohol will be together, and so on and so forth. And then وَمَا كَانُوا يَعْبُدُونَ refers to the idols and partners that they associate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So on the Day of Judgment, all these idols and other objects of worship will be ordered together along with their worshippers. And they will be completely helpless in protecting themselves, let alone helping their worshippers. مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ فَاهْدُوهُمْ إِلَى صِرَاطِ الْجَحِيمِ. Other than Allah, and guide them to the path of hellfire. So فَاهْدُوهُم means سُوقُوهُم سَوْقًا عَنِيفًا, meaning take these people to the path towards the hellfire. Then وَقِفُوهُمْ إِنَّهُمْ مَسْئُولُونَ, and stop them. Indeed, they are to be questioned. So when these disbelievers and groups of sinners reach the bridge of Sirat, they'll be stopped for questioning about their belief and their deeds. What will be said to them? مَا لَكُمْ لَا تَنَاصَرُونَ بَلْ هُمُ الْيَوْمَ مُسْتَسْلِمُونَ. They will be asked, what is wrong with you? Why do you not help each other? But they that day are in surrender. So people will be asked about their company on that day. Why now they don't help each other? They used to follow the leaders in the past. They used to help each other in this world. They used to trust their idols in this world. And now that you are in the hereafter, why can't you do that? Why can't you help each other? But then they will have no choice that day except to surrender to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to face the punishment. وَأَقْبَلَ بَعْضُهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ يَتَسَاءَلُونَ قَالُوا إِنَّكُمْ كُنْتُمْ تَأْتُونَنَا عَلَى الْيَمِينِ. And they will approach one another blaming each other. They will say, indeed, you used to come at us from the right. So these disbelievers and sinners will begin to have an argument among themselves. They will start to blame each other. So some people will say to their leaders that you used to come to us from the right. So what does that mean, anil yamin? Scholars have given a couple of interpretations of this phrase, anil yamin. One meaning is that you used to forcefully influence us to deny the message of prophets. And the other meaning could be that you used to come from the right side to block the truth and to make falsehood attractive to us. Wallahu alam. قَالُوا بَل لَّمْ تَكُونُوا مُؤْمِنِينَ. The oppressors will say, rather you yourself were not believers. وَمَا كَانَ لَنَا عَلَيْكُم مِّن سُلْطَانٍ بَلْ كُنتُمْ قَوْمًا طَاغِينَ. And we had over you no authority, but you were a transgressing people. When the followers blame their leaders for misguidance, the leaders will absolve themselves of any responsibility. They will declare how they had no power or authority over their followers. In fact, it was the followers who were misguided themselves, and they transgressed out of their own will. So there is a point of reflection for us in these verses. you see in today's digital world how people begin to follow a religious scholar or a spiritual leader on social media, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, etc. And many times that initial following happened because you liked a clip someone sent to you, or you came across a video and were impressed by the way that person described something, or any other reason that made you believe in this person, so you begin to follow him or her. And then as you listen to them more, and as you watch their videos or the clips more and more, you get influenced and you get indoctrinated into their beliefs and their perspectives. So now if you pause and reflect on what just happened, you realize that these people you followed had in fact no power on you. It was your own inclination towards them or towards what they were preaching. You got influenced by their charisma, but it was you who submitted yourself to their message. And by the way, this could be good and beneficial if that person was a genuine scholar. And in that case, alhamdulillah, you just used a blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the internet, to remotely benefit from someone who you may have never had access to because they're on the other side of the world. But this could be really damaging and dangerous if that leader was a fraud or a misguided person. You will destroy your hereafter by following such person. So the key message is to remain cautious on who you follow and do some research on their background, education, and qualification before you begin to listen to them and follow them. So let's review verses 22 to 30. Disbelievers will be gathered along with their idols on the day of judgment, and so will the sinners be gathered in groups. And sinners cannot claim innocence by shifting the blame on their leaders. And leaders will declare acquittal from any influence on their followers on the day of judgment. فَحَقَّ عَلَيْنَا قَوْلُ رَبِّنَا إِنَّا لَذَائِقُونَ. So the word of our Lord has come into effect upon us. Indeed, we will taste punishment. حَقَّ عَلَيْنَا means وَجَبَ عَلَيْنَا. فَأَغْوَيْنَاكُمْ إِنَّا كُنَّا غَاوِينَ. And we led you astray. Indeed, we were astray ourselves. فَإِنَّهُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ فِي الْعَذَابِ مُشْتَرِكُونَ. So indeed they, that day, will be sharing in the punishment. This set of verses clarifies that both the leaders who convince people into sin and their followers who followed these leaders will receive punishment. So the people who followed others in sin cannot save themselves with the excuse that they were deceived. Everyone is accountable for their own actions, and these followers decided to accept the call to sin from others, so they are equally responsible. إِنَّا كَذَلِكَ نَفْعَلُ بِالْمُجْرِمِينَ. Indeed, that is how we deal with the criminals. إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا إِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ. Indeed, when it was said to them, there is no deity but Allah, were arrogant. وَيَقُولُونَ أَإِنَّا لَتَارِكُو آلِهَتِنَا لِشَاعِرٍ مَجْنُونَ. And were saying, are we to leave our gods for a mad poet? بَلْ جَاءَ بِالْحَقِّ وَصَدَّقَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. Rather, the Prophet has come with the truth and confirmed the previous messengers. So even though Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam brought the truth and fulfilled the prophecies of his predecessors, the previous prophets, the people of Makkah used to deny his message. And they declared him as a mad poet or a magician, a'yadhu billah. And this behavior of rejection and mockery, though, was not specific to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The previous messengers, when they also declared Tawheed, La ilaha illallah, then they were treated in a very similar way by their nations. As we learn in Surah Fussilat, verse 43, مَا يُقَالُ لَكَ إِلَّا مَا قَدْ قِيلَ لِلرُّسُلِ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ. Nothing is said to you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, except what was already said to the messengers before you. So this is a common situation that prophets had faced in the past. And this is also common in all times for not only the prophets, but for the disciples of the prophets or the followers of that true religion. That when you become a da'i, when you become a proponent, people do not listen and they make a mockery out of you. And for all those people, the outcome is the same. And what will happen to them? إِنَّكُمْ لَذَائِقُ الْعَذَابِ الْأَلِيمِ. Indeed, you, the disbelievers, will be tasters of the painful punishment. وَمَا تُجْزَوْنَ إِلَّا مَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. And you will not be recompensed except for what you used to do. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just in His punishment. He is just in everything. And He will be punishing people according to their sins. And that is the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whatever people will face in the hereafter will be because of their own deeds. However, some people will be saved. Who are those people? These are the people who are sincere in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِلَّا عِبَادَ اللَّهِ الْمُخْلَصِينَ. But not the chosen servants of Allah. So they will not be punished. And we see this pattern in many other places in the Quran when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes something and then makes an exception. So here the exception is made for people who are actually sincere in their worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They will not be punished. And we also see similar pattern in Surah Asr. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Wal Asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilus salihati wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. So there are many places where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses this pattern to make exception. So let's review verses 31 to 40. Both the leaders and their followers will get their share of punishment in their hereafter. So there will be no excuse available to anyone. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just, so He will punish people according to the sins that they have committed. The next few verses will be describing the comforts of paradise and the blessings therein. أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمْ رِزْقٌ مَعْلُومٌ. For them there will be a known provision. And there are many explanations of the word provision here. First is that it refers to the bounties described in more details in other verses. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just referring to rizq, but it's actually described elsewhere in the Quran. So that's one interpretation. Another interpretation is that this provision is determined with respect to the times of day it's available, meaning the mornings and the evenings, as it is mentioned in Surah Maryam, verse 62. لا يسمعون فيها لغوا إلا سلاما ولهم رزقهم فيها بكرة وعشيا. So they will not hear therein any ill speech, only greetings of peace, and they will have their provision therein morning and afternoon. So that's the second interpretation, that it is with respect to times the provision will be available. And a third explanation is that this provision will be certain. So rizqun ma'loom, meaning it is certain and everlasting. So there will be no concern among the people of paradise about their provision in the future. They will remain at ease and reassured that they will always be surrounded by food supply and other bounties and blessings. فَوَاكِهُ وَهُمْ مُكْرَمُونَ. Fruits, and they will be honored. So the word fawakih is the plural of fakihatun, which is commonly translated as a fruit. But the broader meaning of fakiha is something that you eat for its taste and not for satisfying your hunger. In fact, Imam Razi, in his Tafseer Kabir, takes the position that all the food in paradise will be for delicacy and taste, since there will be no need to eat for the sake of nourishment or to sustain your life or to satiate your hunger. There is no such need in paradise. So whatever will be available will be just for its taste and delicacy and for enjoyment. Another blessing of paradise we learn in this verse is that the people of Jannah will be honored So it is not a place of just food and drink, but there is a protocol of respect and honor and hospitality and privilege given to the people of Jannah. في جنات النعيم, in gardens of pleasure. على سرر متقابلين, on thrones facing one another. So this is another protocol of paradise where people will not have their backs to each other as they will sit on thrones. And you might imagine how this may be arranged in paradise, because it is hard for us to comprehend with the laws of this world that how can such a large group of people will always be facing each other. And again, we leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the paradise is something that is unique. It's not the same as what we see in this world. It's a place which no one can ever imagine. What we learn here is people of paradise will always be facing each other. يُطَافُ عَلَيْهِمْ بِكَأْسٍ مِّن مَّعِينٍ, there will be circulated among them a cup of wine from a flowing spring. So ka'as means cup, but here it means a cup of wine. And ma'in means anharin jariyatin la yakhafun inqita'aha, flowing rivers without the fear of any interruption. So the wine available in paradise, there will be no concern about it getting finished or ceasing to flow. It will be in the form of a spring. بيضاء لذة للشاربين, white and delicious to drinkers. So the wine of paradise, this is another attribute, that it will be white in color and it will be delicious to drink. لا فيها غول ولا هم عنها ينزفون, no bad effect is there in it, nor from it they will be intoxicated. So غول has been translated as bad effect, since it encompasses various attributes like headache, abdominal pain, bad smell or confusion. All those ill consequences of drinking wine that we see in this world will not be there in paradise. The wine of paradise will not elicit such reaction that we will lose any senses or will have a bad effect on our health. People vomit today when they drink alcohol. They have a headache on the next day. They lose their sense of being. All of those feelings will not be there when people of paradise will drink the wine. وَعِندَهُمْ قَاصِرَاتُ الطَّرْفِ عِينٌ, and with them will be women limiting their glances with large beautiful eyes. So قَاصِرَاتُ الطَّرْف means عَفِيفَاتٌ لَا يَنْظُرْنَ إِلَى غَيْرِ أَزْوَاجِهِنَّ, chaste women who will not look at anyone other than their husbands. And عين means wide beautiful eyes. So that's a description of the hurs of Jannah. And then in the next verse, we get more description. كَأَنَّهُنَّ بَيْضٌ مَكْنُونٌ, as if they were delicate eggs well protected. So maknoon means covered or protected or hidden. And in this context could mean لَمْ تَمَسَّهُ الْأَيْدِي, no one touched them. So there are a few explanations of maknoon and bayd. One of them is that when eggs are hidden under feathers of a bird, then they remain clean and safe from pollution. And that will be how the hurs of Jannah will be. Another explanation is that maknoon refers to the inner covering of an egg, which is not touched by people's hands, unlike the outer shell when they carry eggs around. So such will be the state of the women of paradise, that no one would have touched them. And a third explanation is that baydun is a reference to pearl, lu'lu. So the hurs of Jannah will be like hidden pearls, and Allah knows best. So let's review verses 41 to 49. People of paradise will be honored with numerous blessings of food, drink, and companionship. And the wine of paradise will not elicit any negative effects like hangover and confusion. So we'll stop here inshallah. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم.